If you're a woman in perimenopause or postmenopause and your cholesterol was flagged as high for the first time, you are not alone. You are also not alone if you're confused by what it means and whether or not a prescription is your only path forward. The confusion many women feel in this exact same situation is a problem of the healthcare system. My name is Stephanie Dunn. I'm a registered dietitian and the founder of Feed Your Intention. I guide women to nourish their wellness and reclaim their wholeness. And today I want to talk to you about why 1 or even 2 cholesterol numbers don't tell the full story about what's happening in your body, why normal is not the same as optimal, and why midlife changes the conversation we should be having around cholesterol. The most important thing for you to know about cholesterol is that it is not an inherently bad thing. Cholesterol is essential for our health and our well-being. Every single cell in your body has cholesterol in the wall of that cell that gives it structure. Cholesterol is the starting point for many hormones to be made. It's also necessary for your liver to create bile, and bile is what allows you to digest and absorb fats. And finally, your body cannot make vitamin D without cholesterol. It is crucial to your body's function. In fact, the liver actually makes the majority of the cholesterol found in your body. What that means is that dietary cholesterol, meaning the cholesterol that comes from your food, contributes a much smaller percentage to the number that you see on your blood work than you might actually think. In addition to making cholesterol, your liver is responsible for packaging up that cholesterol, whether it is made by the liver itself or it comes from the diet, and then sending that cholesterol out into the body for other cells to use. After all, every single cell needs cholesterol. These packages or suitcases that carry cholesterol through the blood have names that you will recognize, like LDL and HDL. As a general explanation, LDL is a suitcase that carries cholesterol from the liver to all of the other cells in the body. And HDL is the suitcase that carries leftover cholesterol from the rest of the body back to the liver. Total cholesterol is the amount of cholesterol that is actually in all of the cholesterol carrying suitcases that are in your blood. Now, while each of these suitcases and their contents matter, there is far more to consider about the impact of said suitcases or their contents and the impact they can have on your health. High LDL and or total cholesterol or low HDL does not in and of itself indicate what your risk of cardiovascular disease is. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm clear that as women, we want to minimize our risk of heart disease because it continues to be the #1 cause of death in the United States. However, we can't know what our risk of heart disease is when we look only at 4 numbers: LDL, HDL, total cholesterol, and triglycerides. These are the numbers that we see in a standard lipid panel. But there are other blood markers that need to be considered. In addition to these other blood markers that we need to take into account, we also have to consider what all of these numbers mean in relation to one another. The pattern across multiple blood and genetic markers matters more than any one single number could. So we can't just look at one number or even 2 numbers and really understand what's going on in the body and what the risk is for what those numbers are. In addition to multiple numbers and their relationship to each other, we have to take into account the complete context of the numbers. Now, you're probably wondering what I'm talking about as it relates to context. How does the context matter when we're looking at actual data? Well, the context in which normal was established for each of these numbers matters. So, number 1, the reality is that reference ranges on lab results are often not based on what research shows is optimal. They show what is normal. And outside of a few blood markers that are fairly well standardized, the reference range from lab to lab is different because it is based on the statistical distribution of results for people who used that lab. That's not the same as what research has shown to be optimal for health and wellness across multiple populations. Now, of course, I have to put a caveat on this that not all research is free from bias. So it's best if we understand the research that was used to determine normal or even optimal numbers. Only within that context can we make a truly informed decision about what to do with the number that is presented on our lab results. The second consideration of context for the number itself is that different equipment yields different results, even when reading the same blood sample. This is simply due to the fact that the equipment made by different companies is different. The types of reagents used are different, and that means that the number that equipment yields is not going to be exactly the same as a number that different equipment yields. Number 3, some results on blood work aren't actually measured at all. Specifically related to cholesterol, the LDL number is calculated based on other numbers that are measured. I even saw recently that a lab was advertising that it had changed from using one equation to using another equation for calculating LDL. I guess they've decided that this new other equation is more accurate. Now, what does all of that mean for you? Well, your doctor saying that your numbers are normal or not normal is not the same as saying that your numbers are optimal for your long-term health. Of course, I am not suggesting that you should ignore your doctor, but simply that there may be a bigger conversation to be had. In addition to the context of the numbers themselves, we have to consider the context of you, your symptoms, your history, your hormonal status, your lifestyle. All of this matters in how the numbers should be interpreted. And if you are in midlife, this context has likely changed from what it was previous to now. Estrogen has a protective effect on cholesterol metabolism. It helps to maintain a healthy balance between LDL and HDL cholesterol. In perimenopause, as you know, estrogen starts fluctuating and then it declines, and that protective effect changes. Cholesterol numbers that may have been perfectly stable for decades can shift significantly in a very short window of time. I know they certainly did for me. Of course, this is not random. It's not random for you. It wasn't random for me. It is a physiological change in the way our bodies are functioning. Now, when we add into this whole discussion the low-level inflammation that many women experience in midlife, we start to get an even clearer picture of what's going on and what needs to happen. Now, if you missed it, I talked about that midlife inflammation situation in last week's video, so you can go check that out if you want more information on that. But back to the cholesterol and inflammation connection. Chronic low-level inflammation influences cholesterol metabolism, and perhaps more importantly, cardiovascular risk is impacted by inflammation in ways that the standard panel doesn't capture on its own. Now look, I'm not saying that the number on your blood work doesn't matter or that you should ignore medical advice. Obviously, I am not saying that. What I am saying is that the standard lipid panel is only a partial picture. There are other markers and truths about your specific body and life that provide meaningful context for the numbers that you are seeing. Unfortunately, most appointments aren't long enough to cover all of this. Most insurance providers don't cover the additional, very useful labs. And most women are left with partial information that prevents them from making an informed decision about how to move forward on their health journey. So, what can you do about it? Well, number 1, ask lots of questions. You are entitled to a full explanation of your results, what they mean, and what your options are. Number 2, please don't make decisions based on a single number in isolation. Or if you already have made a decision, know that very few decisions are absolutely final, and you can still make a different decision if you realize that that's appropriate. Number 3, understand that medication is one option, but it is not necessarily the only option. I'm going to be talking about that more in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. Number 4, remind yourself that the goal isn't to avoid treatment. The goal is to make an informed decision that moves you forward on your health journey in a way that resonates with you. Everything I've just covered is the foundation for a complete course that I'm building called Lower Your Cholesterol Naturally, a complete guide for women in perimenopause and menopause. In it, I cover everything about what the numbers mean, what additional markers matter, what the optimal ranges are based on research, and evidence-based interventions you can explore to build your personalized approach to lowering your cholesterol. If you want to be informed about when the course is available, sign up for my waitlist. The link is in the description below. Remember, your body is designed for balance, and with the right support, it can find its way back there. I wish you wellness and wholeness.